And of course, that was David Swanson with Talk Nation Radio, one of my favorite shows, basically because he, like most of the rest of us, are looking for peaceful solutions. I have with me here today a friend of mine who asked to have a little time to bring up somebody, because I know we're all politicked out, right? But there are a few individuals, because the Democratic field is so ridiculously huge, that do need to be heard, and their ideas are excellent. And one of those is Tulsi Gabbard. And I have here Dhruva Soon, who's a friend of mine, who is working towards Tulsi. But I do have to remind you that we at WZBC and Boston College do not well, we're not going to say we're going to support anybody. Okay, we're not in this to support people. What we're in this for is to educate people so they can get other points of view and stuff like that. Sorry if I got a little tongue-tied there for a second, but I need something to drink, and my Pepsi's 5 miles away. So with that said, I'm going to bring this up with Dhruva here. And how you doing, Dhruva?
Hi, Bob. I'm doing great, and it is a fantastic weather out today. And I would like to thank you for giving this opportunity here. But one thing I want to make clear, that I do not represent the candidate. I do not represent the campaign. I am just a supporter of Madam Tulsi Gabbard. And if one wants to know more about her, you can visit tulsi2020.com and to know how you can help her. If you want to know her positions in depth on various issues, you can visit tulsigabbard.org. Again, to know her and to help her, tulsi2020.com. To know her position in depth, tulsigabbard.org. Again, thank you.
Oh, just no problem, Dhruva. When I went to the sites today and I was looking through them, I was at the tulsigabbard.org, and it is a pretty intense site. She does have quite a few things that she's involved in, and all of them pretty much with her on, like ending the wars, enact Medicare for all, invest in infrastructure and education. So, let's start with, what do you think about investing in infrastructure and education, something that we've seemed to have let slip by?
Yes, so to the best of my understanding, I think what Tulsi is saying, that we are unnecessarily spending millions of dollars on regime change wars. And if we do not go down that path and instead invest those trillions of dollars in healthcare and in improving our crumbling infrastructure, then we know how to pay for them. Because one of the questions, the pushback that we get, oh, these are all great ideas, but how do we pay for them? Well, the answer is simpler. Stop the regime change wars. We save trillions.
I agree wholeheartedly. I mean, we can build a school and it'll stand for 100 years and educate people. or we can build a couple of bombs and use them
Yes.
once and kill people, which is ridiculous. Then you got to build more, which is really, really ridiculous. So I agree with that 100%. Infrastructure and education are extremely important. She also has here ban fracking to protect our water. I'm a fan of that right off the bat.
Yeah, so as we know, fracking is actually some sort of a form of fracturing. So what happens is liquid is forcefully pushed down an area, and when cracks or fractures, they start occurring in the wells. Mm-hmm. And it has been found to be extremely harmful to the environment, to the land where that fracking is going on. And it is a hallmark of anyone who is in favor of addressing climate change, going in for green technology. And as we may be knowing, there's a company called Gabbard, which was they were planning to file for Chapter 11. They were planning to file for bankruptcy. And then what happened? The Iraq War. Mm-hmm. And then they became a billionaire because they had contracts for fracking.
They had singular contracts. Nobody else could get
yes,
in there.
Yes.
And that was all Dick Cheney, too.
Exactly. So anyone who talks about green technology mm-hmm. but doesn't mention fracking and doesn't, advocates to ban fracking, I would take that with a pinch of salt. And, Tulsi, she knows these things at the back of her hand, and she says water is life. So
it is.
Make sure that we have clean water for everyone.
Sure, and that's part of the fracking deal. I know that Oklahoma had, I think, 2 noticeable earthquakes in 150 years, and now they have almost 1,000 a day.
Yeah,
that can be noticed. I mean, and that's all because of fracking. So,
yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry for the people in Oklahoma, but really, you need to do something better, which also moves up into transition to 100% renewable energy by 2035, which I think is an excellent idea as well that she has. But working down a little bit, I'm looking at increasing the benefits for veterans. Now, I know she's a veteran of Iraq and Kuwait and is in the Hawaiian National Guard.
Yes.
Although, of course, they don't support anybody either. The military does.
Yes.
Just like we don't here at WZBC. What do you think about increasing the benefits for veterans? I mean, some of these guys are coming back, and women are coming back with PTSD. They've been sent over there multiple times. We have an entire generation that started kindergarten and are now graduating high school and have known nothing but war.
Yes, and so Tulsi has numerous bills which she was the original sponsor and which benefits the veterans, both combat veterans and non-combat veterans. But she is very close in heart to combat veterans because she has the first-hand knowledge of the cost of war in the field. Mm-hmm. So her bills, it talks lots about increasing, funding, increasing the medical care that they need to get, increasing the access. We may have right just on paper, but in terms of access, maybe a veteran has to wait for 6 months. It really doesn't help.
Yeah. And the other part is one of the aspects that's been, that has been left out in the past is women's health in the VA system.
Yes.
They really need to be moving forward on that, because it's sort of like they kind of slipped on that one, you know. I mean, there's so many women veterans coming out now, and a lot of them have been abused, and which I find atrocious myself. But they need to work on that too, and I think having a woman bringing those things up is very important. It also has here one of my favorite little things: end warrantless NSA surveillance.
Yes.
Now watch what you say, because they're probably listening to us right now.
So Tulsi is very well known and is very deep into civil rights. And what she's basically saying that, you know, certain type of surveillance may be necessary, but it has to be on a judicial warrant. They just can't go off their own, pick up anybody, including U.S. citizens, to start a surveillance. No, there has to be a due process of law.
Sure.
And that is what I have observed Tulsi being extremely, you know, committed to following the due process of law, which includes, if you want to declare somebody a war criminal, no. A president of the U.S. cannot declare that. It is the International Court of Law which has to do that. So you might have observed her responses about the the Syrian president.
Sure.
And she basically, said that what we have to look into is all the facts and evidence, and that's exactly what a court of law does. The facts.
Precisely.
And the International Court of Justice or the International Criminal Court, they are the one who are supposed to take that decision. It is not Tulsi Gabbard's decision.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
she follows the rules. She follows the law. She upholds the law, and that's why you will see that to end warrantless surveillance, it is a part of the bigger picture of uphold the law.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense to me. And one other thing here that I particularly really enjoy, especially with South Carolina in the pit of things right now, secure our elections with paper ballots. I agree with that 100%, because all of these machines that are out there, they can be hacked, they can be messed up. We've had that problem in South Carolina. There's been other problems before in Florida. These problems could be done away with, and we won't have any of these troubles if we go to a secure system. And a secure system is marking a ballot,
Yes, and the genesis of this, so in my private life, I also work as a cybersecurity professional. Mm-hmm. So what happened is in DEF CON is a conference of hackers. So there was a voting machine given to a 15-year-old girl who hacked into it in 5 minutes.
She's better than I am. I could barely put out an email.
So you know how easy it is. And then I went into the technical architecture of many of those voting machine.
Yeah.
They are connected with a wireless LAN, which makes it very vulnerable to penetration. And even, some of the machines, they have something called an EEPROM, electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. Mm-hmm. Now, if we do not check those EEPROMs before they are deployed at the polling booths, this should be the responsibility of the candidates. Those EEPROMs can be programmed like, regardless of what the vote is cast, every vote counted as a Republican.
Yeah.
So it is possible to,
It's possible, and it's possible to have every vote counted as a Democrat or an independent.
Yeah, it is hackable.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, so
or every third one, or whatever the case. If it's hackable, it's not good.
yes, and that is what's this bill is all about, and how to make sure. And so what this paper ballot does, I think there's about 14 states which already does this.
Yeah.
It is proven that it gives a audit trail. It can be audited.
Exactly. You can go back and take a look. You can't go back into a machine because the machine's just going to spit out whatever it wants to.
Exactly.
Especially when they were made by Diebold, or Diebold, whichever it is, which was a GOP-owned company anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Dhruva, and you've informed us about quite a few things. And I would like to remind people that if they want to learn more about Tulsi Gabbard, go to Tulsi Gabbard, that's let me do this right, TulsiGabbard.org, and that's her page there. And she also has Tulsi, TULSI, 2020.com. And that's a direct run to her campaign. Once again, I will tell you that WZBC and the board of the board of Boston College, and WZBC do not support any candidates, okay? And that's important for people to know, because we're just bringing this out because she's one of the shorter candidates in the thing that most people haven't heard about.
And if I can take this 30 seconds
to
add that if we look at this regime change war, they have been basically around oil. Be it Iraq, we went there for their oil. Mm-hmm. Libya, we went there for oil. In Syria, it is the Qatar-Turkey pipeline. Assad doesn't want that. We are going in there for that pipeline. Afghanistan, there's something called TAPI, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India pipeline. Mm. So this whole regime change thing is all targeting towards grabbing the oil of a foreign country in the garb of humanitarian aid, or installing a democracy. And the latest threat is invading Venezuela, which I think is, they have the richest oil reserve in the world. So again, thank you so very much for giving this opportunity. Again, I want to make it clear that I do not represent the candidate or the campaign. I am just a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard, and of course, I think very, very highly of her. She's a veteran and deployed in Iraq, Kuwait, twice, volunteered. Mm-hmm. And I think right now, as of today, she's working for the Hawaiian National Guard in Hawaii. Right now, as we speak.
On a weekend, yep. Yeah, there it goes. Okay, well, thank you very much, Dhruva, and I really and truly appreciate it. And you've brought this forward. And like you say, once again, WZBC nor the board of directors, of course, we can't support any candidate either, but we can bring people out so they get to know about them. I hadn't heard about her. Everybody hears about
other candidates.
Yeah, everybody else. I can't even mention them all. You got Elizabeth Warren. You got it just goes on and on and on. Klobuchar. I mean, geez. So when it thins out a little bit, all I want is to make sure that her information gets out there for people to make an informed decision, no matter what they decide to vote for. Republican,
Absolutely.
Democrat, Independent.
Yeah.
I just want them to make an informed decision when
Absolutely.
they cast a vote.
And as Tulsi, starts and ends with aloha.
Yep. Aloha.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would like to say aloha to all of you. And Tulsi actually means the matchless.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I will say aloha too, and I thank you so much, Dhruva, for coming in and talking to us today.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure. And now what we'll do is we're going to bring in